And good morning to everyone tuning in, hopefully. Um, I hope you watched last week's stream. It was really good. We talked to Sarah regarding dealing with chronic pain and other health issues. She was a really interesting person, and I hope to get her back pretty soon for another discussion. But today, I want to talk about a couple of things I've seen on YouTube lately uh, regarding people with disabilities. There was one story that was on a current affair that I saw a few days ago that I just wanted to raise with people um, with this story. I really don't think we're getting the whole truth here. So what we'll do is we'll play the story, then we'll stop, make a few comments, and um, then we'll just play it out to the end. So just start that, please, Chris.
She's a teenage girl, but bureaucrats say she's a burden on Australia. In just 3 weeks, she and her parents will be kicked out of the country and deported to Italy, leaving her brothers and sisters behind. Tonight, their plea: have a heart and keep this loving family together.
It's her favourite time of day. A walk with the family, followed by trampolining, and it's all hers. Oh, and let's not forget her passion for running. But most of all, Vendetta enjoys singing with her family. She's a young woman who loves life. But Australia doesn't want her.
As a country, we don't tolerate discrimination.
A cruel government rule tearing a family and twins apart.
I can't imagine my life without her. Not in the slightest.
Don't want to think about it.
I actually don't.
The Donnagama family may have their origins in Italy, but they haven't lived there for 30 years. For nearly 2 decades, Australia has been home. They've never been in trouble, worked hard, paid their taxes. In fact, they've paid much more than most Australians, having forked out for schooling and healthcare, as they have no access to free education or Medicare. Nonetheless, Australia is home.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can't tell you how much we appreciate Australia. We love Australia.
Dad Vanny was invited here all those decades ago because of his much-needed skills.
I'm a geologist in oil and gas, specialized in reservoir management.
But when the pandemic hit, his employer had to let him go, and with that went his working visa, and jobs for him are few and far between.
And very, very highly.
So we just heard that these people have been in Australia for nearly 20 years on a work visa. Now, this rule just doesn't apply to this family. This rule applies to everyone on a work visa. You come to the country to do a specific job and to work. And if you can't get work, then you're forced to leave, regardless of any situation. So that's just, just one point there I just wanted to make out. And I'll get Chris to give you a visual description of the lifestyle that these people have, the house that they have. It may not seem relevant at the moment, but later on it will. Okay, let's go.
So they've got quite a nice house with sort of multi-story, big backyard, sort of nicely furnished, fairly modern appliances. Everyone's, I don't know, it seems like a reasonably affluent, readily to very affluent sort of house. So the kids have got, laptops and devices and things like that.
So that they have a affluent lifestyle. Obviously this gentleman's highly intelligent. But anyway, we'll just keep rolling the clip.
Skilled in what I'm doing, it was very difficult to find another possibility in Australia.
But while he was looking for work to keep his visa going, the family says immigration officials then red flagged his daughter Benedetta, who, along with wife Elisa, were attached to his visa.
I tell you, it's not easy. But there's no one day we say thanks to having Benedetta.
Benedetta lives with a rare chromosome disability.
Benedetta doesn't have any medical requirement in terms of therapy. She's just non-verbal with a development delay.
Is she a burden on our health system?
She's not a burden, not at all. Absolutely. She doesn't have any kind of medication. Nothing.
Does she go to hospitals?
No,
Does she see doctors regularly?
no.
No way.
Just like a
Nothing.
normal child. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But the immigration department, the family told us, believe Benedetta could still be a burden on our healthcare system.
It's incredible. We went through several times to try to convince that Benedetta wasn't a burden.
So Elisa, Vanni and Benedetta have just 3 weeks before they are to be deported to Italy, where this 18-year-old has never lived. If she's forced to go back, how would that be for her?
It will be devastating because it will be a complete new environment.
She will start asking for her siblings.
Yeah, she
every
will.
day.
Yeah.
Bendetta's siblings have all grown up in Australia. School, work, friends. They've made a life here. And what high-achieving short lives they've made of it. All on student visas, unlike their parents and Benedetta. This is their country, they say.
Okay, so we just heard there that the other children are there on student visas. And that's another relevant point that I just wanted to point out. But yeah, so we'll just keep playing that clip, please.
This is their home. So you represent Australia overseas?
Yes.
Chiara has made Australia proud at 4 World Championships in the sport of ice skating. As well, she's a qualified interior designer. Andrea studied and became a chef here.
It honestly hurts me, the fact that a family like us has to be in this situation where we're forced to be separated from my sister and I.
Bendetta's twin, Matteo, has just finished his HSC and now off to uni to study astronomy and astrophysics.
I like to think that I got a 9-month head start to get to know her before everyone else. So if she was removed from my life, it would actually be really, really devastating.
Another high achiever in this talented family is Francesco. He's studying mechanical engineering and simply says they are young people who want to contribute to our society.
All we want to do is try and make a life for ourselves. It's as simple as that. And we're not afraid of putting in the hard work.
But in a few weeks, Mum, Dad and Benedetta will be deported, leaving behind the rest of this close, loving family.
I'm seeing everyone.
Chiara invented a family monopoly game with all the places around the world Mum and Dad lived in. It tells their story. The IKEA furniture they bought time and time again. The go-to-jail immigration they all fear.
So, as you just heard for point 3, that they've made a monopoly game of the places they've lived in around the world. So, yeah, Australia's not the only country they've lived in. They've been into lots of other different countries and had work visas there as well. Okay,
and the lotto they hope to win to help them fight for a better decision. They're not alone. They have friends and supporters here, including Kiara's coach, Madonna, who worries about her champ.
She's an asset. We can't afford to lose her.
Mateo's mate, who also worries about his friend's career in space.
He wouldn't be able to reach his full potential.
All of the children are polite, courteous, kind, helpful.
But they will soon be on their own because of Vanny's present work status.
Employers out there, wake up. This is a fantastic opportunity to keep a family together and employ a very skilled man.
And then there's that happy young woman Australia, it seems, doesn't want.
Australia doesn't support.
We'll end that clip there, but look, if this girl's been deported simply because of a disability, I'd be outraged. I'd be contacting the Minister of Immigration and writing a nasty letter. But when you absorb all the other facts, the parents are here on a work visa. They've had nearly 20 years to apply for a residency or citizenship, which they didn't do. Now, this gentleman's, highly intelligent for what he, just look at his career, highly intelligent. He knows no work, no visa, you leave. That's the rules. He's had nearly 20 years to apply for residency or apply for citizenship, and he hasn't done it. So, don't blame the government there. It's not their fault. They've overlooked it and thought, we want to stay here in Australia and make Australia home. Apply for residency. He probably would have got it because of his skills, but he didn't. And because he's here on a work visa, no work, no visa. I know for a fact that everyone that comes in this country on a work visa or on a student visa, once they stop working or stop studying, they have to leave the country no matter what. That's the rules. They know this coming into the country. I don't know. Is it a newsworthy story? It touches the heartstrings. I think part of the reason that a minimal part of the reason they're being deported is because this girl has a disability. But majority part is, to what I believe is that his work visa has run out. He's not working. He's not entitled to be in Australia. He's known this for 20 years and he's never applied for residency. The other children are here on student visas. They can't blame the government because they never applied for residency. I think it's just, and as far as not having Medicare or all the rest of it and having to pay for schools, well, that's the same as every other person that is in the country on a work visa or a student visa. They have to pay for everything up front. They pay their own medical, their own education. They usually pay for the education up front. I've got family members who work in the education system, in universities. I know people who work in universities, and overseas students pay for their degree up front. Once the degree is completed, they have to leave the country. Now, this is going to happen to the other kids. Once they stop studying, they're going to have to leave if they don't apply for residency. So who's to blame? I don't think the government's, it's all their responsibility. I think the responsibility for this falls squarely on the shoulders of the parents. They've been all around the world, all the different countries. They've even made a game about it, a monopoly game. to all the countries they've lived in. But, you know, they want to make Australia the home. Fine, do it. Apply for residency like everyone else has to. One of my best friends, his daughter went over to England to work over there. She had to jump through hoops and meet different certain requirements. She met a young man over there. They fell in love. She moved back. He followed, and he had to jump through all the hoops to become a resident as well. So why is his family any different to anyone else? And I really do think playing on the sympathy of their daughter having a disability is a bit, it sort of really puts me off. I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Hang on, put myself in the stream. Yeah, I think this is. I mean, I don't think it's as clear cut as it's coming across in the news article for sure. It's hard to know exactly what their personal situation is because it's always going to be painted by the popular media in a way, like you said, that sort of sells the story and pulls at the heartstrings. So, yeah, it's very hard to say what's really happening. I think you're right. There's probably more going on than is being portrayed in the media, which I think is, I don't know, if it's being deceptive, then that's a problem because then for other people with disabilities who are experiencing genuine hardship, then it sort of takes away from them and from their experiences, which I think is, makes it a little bit deceptive, really.
Well, exactly, and to use their daughter in a way as a pawn in a game of trying to beat the work visa and the student visa, I think that's, well, if it was solely because of the daughter's disability, I'd be up in arms. I'd be really upset that the government done it, but I don't think that's the sole reason. I think it's part of the reason, but let's not forget they were red flagged because the husband wasn't working on a work visa. And what happens when the siblings, finish studying? They'll have to leave if they don't have residency. I don't know. I just don't think it's fair to all the other people who are trying to come into the country the correct way. It's just unfair to those people. And I really am sorry that this is happening to this family, but come on, people. He knew, the father knew once he had no job, he had no visa, and he had nearly 20 years to apply for residency, and he didn't do it. I don't know. I don't want to come across as being heartless because I'm not. I'll give everyone a fair shake, but to use the daughter to pull the heartstrings to get people up in arms and to force the government to reverse this decision where everyone else has to abide by. All the other people on work visas, once their visas, once they can't find work, they have to leave the country. That's just the rules.
Just to jump in quickly, your video stream seems to have cut out. I tried turning it on and off, and it hasn't come back again. But your audio seems to be working fine, and the screen sharing seems to be working. So I think I'll just be best to forge forward.
Yeah, we'll just keep going. I was on another stream this morning, and the same thing happened to that person. They were in the US, but is there anyone in chat? Okay, that's all right. So let me know what you think about that story, whether you think I'm right or wrong. My email is blindadvocate 007@gmail.com. So if you want to contact me, send me an email, let me know what you think. But I come across another story from the United States. I'll give you a quick rundown of what I've learnt. There's been multiple stories about this issue. There's a man in America who recently lost both legs. I don't know. A family member said it was because of an interaction with police. What that meant, I don't know. He's a double amputee, lost both of his legs. He was in a wheelchair in the service station, pulled out a butcher's knife and stabbed someone in the chest, seriously wounding them. The police were called. He left. They found him. He threatened the police with the knife. One report said he threw it at him. He threw the knife. He was tased twice, which didn't work. But I've never seen anybody that's been able to survive a tasing. Either the hook didn't land into the skin, and the electric shock didn't affect them. I don't know why the two tasings didn't work, but he then tried to flee by jumping out of his wheelchair, running away on both stumps of his legs. Police opened fire and shot him 10 times, including in the back. Look, yeah, I'll just run this clip and we'll have a bit more to discuss after it. So we just run that clip, please, Chris. It's like I said, there's different stories.
Tonight, the deadly incident caught on camera. Police confronting a double amputee, weapons drawn. He's left his wheelchair wielding a knife, moving away from the officers. Then in this video from a different bystander, if you listen carefully through the music playing, you can hear the gunshots that killed Anthony Lowe. The view of Lowe obstructed by a vehicle. His family now demanding accountability.
He was running away from them, and what's really heartbreaking is that you can tell that he was in fear for his life.
This is a murder that must be prosecuted.
According to Huntington Park Police, they had received a 911 call about a stabbing. The victim said the perpetrator was a man in a wheelchair. Blocks away, they say they found Lowe holding a knife and attempted to detain him, but Lowe threatened them. In a press release, officials say the officers deployed tasers twice in an attempt to stop him, but the tasers were ineffective, resulting in the fatal shooting. The lieutenant of the homicide unit from the LA County Sheriff's Department, which is investigating the shooting, telling the LA Times that officers in Huntington Park don't wear body cameras. The Sheriff's Department also telling NBC News the stabbing victim, a 46-year-old man, is in stable condition at the hospital. NBC News has not been able to obtain a police report filed for that incident. Despite being armed with a knife in the alleged stabbing, Lowe's family saying he wasn't an immediate threat.
There's no threat that a person is doing to any officer when they're moving away from them.
He was suffering from mental depression, from losing his legs.
Today, his family filing a claim against the city, a precursor to what could be a multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
My son, he broke down yesterday, asking God, can he just get one more time with his dad?
Lowe's family attorney says there's video from a nearby doctor's office that shows the entire fatal shooting. He has requested it.
Why haven't they shown it to us? Why haven't they published it?
We have requested the video from police, but have not gotten a response. Now, 1 week since Anthony Lowe's death, protesters are demanding answers, criticizing police for what they call a lack of transparency.
Saddening from every.
So, as you heard, this gentleman was in a service station, stabbed another man in the chest who he didn't know, nearly killed him. police were called, or you heard the story. I don't know. Did he deserve to be shot 10 times? He certainly stabbed someone. There's no denying that. And he need to be held accountable. But really, like, why couldn't the police pull out their nightsticks that they carry and try and knock the knife out of his hand? He actually left his wheelchair and it was on what was left of his legs. Yeah, look, I don't think he deserved to die. Not in that fashion. I think there's other things the police could have done. It's heartbreaking for the victim who was stabbed. It's heartbreaking for the family and for the man who died. Obviously, Chris, can you give a bit of a verbal description of what you're seeing?
Sure. So, I guess in the scene you can see that there's two police officers facing the man in the wheelchair. He has a knife. It's about 30 centimeters long. They're pointing their guns at him. He starts to run away, and then another cop comes up behind them, and he's sort of moving away quite quickly. And maybe when they were pointing the guns, maybe they were pointing a taser at the same time. I couldn't really see from the footage, but yeah, then they opened fire. But it was clearly it was moving at a surprising pace, but it was, yeah, there was a big distance between himself and the police officers, and there was no indication at all that he was any kind of threat to the police officers. I don't know what the rules are there. I would have thought that to be able to open fire on someone, you'd have to be a direct threat to the officers or to another person. So it didn't. I don't know. I don't really know what the rules are in this situation, but clearly, the guy wasn't being a threat to anyone as he was running away.
Well, I think that under any circumstances, the police can only shoot in self-defense. And if that man was at his back turned to him running away, then they opened fire. He was not being an immediate threat. Thank God we live in Australia. Look, I think all police should have body cameras, and I think it should be the cameras should be formatted in a way that the camera can't be turned off and the microphone can't be muted, so they can discuss things that can't be held, that that doesn't implicate them from what they say or do. Because I've seen a lot of cop videos on YouTube where they mute the microphone and create a story because they forget they mute the microphone on the body camera, but the one on the dash cam's still working and you can hear them through that. So, I think all police should wear body cameras and they should not be able to turn them off or mute the microphones. But I just thought those two stories were interesting. Like I said, the first one, I think it's probably unfair to the government, that story, the way it was portrayed. I think the gentleman knew with a work visa, where there's no work, there's no visa. And the same with these other children, they're here on student visas. Once they run out, they're going to have to leave the country as well if they don't apply for residency. It's just as simple as that. It's not being unfair. It's just the rules, the law. Anyone in chat?
No one in chat at the moment, Jeff. I've had a look at the channels. I'll just double check.
No, that's all right. We might end the stream there. Yeah. Look, what we're going to do, we'll end the stream here. There's no one in chat. But if there's anyone out there who wants to raise a topic or come up and talk, send me an email at blindadvocate007@gmail.com, and we'll get you up, or we can talk about the topic or get you up and have a chat with you. Okay, thank you, Chris.